You don't know until you try, is the philosophy I use to motivate myself to be brave and go after the things I know are right for me. Whether it's trying a new hobby, a new relationship, or moving across the world as I did just 7 months ago from Canada to Bulgaria, I have tried to redefine my metric of success as being willing to try and giving the things you care about your best effort. As with any moving abroad journey, there will always be highs and lows, especially in the beginning when you're trying to get everything set up, adapting to a new culture, and learning a new language. And even when you know you're on the right path, there will always still be moments that you doubt yourself, where you want to turn back, when you miss what your old life used to look like. But it's in these moments that I remind myself that no matter what happens, the process is worth it. The person you become through the journey of going after your goals and being true to yourself is the prize. And to quote from the fantastic movie of Little Miss Sunshine, there are two kinds of people in this world, winners and losers. And the only way you will ever be a loser is if you're so scared of not winning that you don't even try. And gosh darn it, I'm going to try. Well, hello friends. I hope you are all doing great. I thought I would do a sort of check-in video, real talk video, talking about my experiences so far of having moved to Bulgaria since we are, believe it or not, halfway through 2025. But I thought I would kind of sprinkle these updates in since I know a lot of you have really enjoyed following this moving abroad journey. And just in this last while, I will say that I have felt a little bit homesick. Now, no, not the kind of homesick where I'm regretting my decision and planning to move back. No, it's not one of those kinds of situations, but it is just feeling nostalgic for certain aspects of living in Canada, because obviously that was my primary home for most of my life. And I think anybody who has moved abroad can kind of relate to this feeling where you've stepped into this new world, this new environment. You obviously become a new version of yourself having done that. But at the same time, you still feel very connected to your old life and your old environment and the old way of doing things. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys some of the pros and cons that I have noticed between living in Canada and living in Bulgaria, and I wanted to share them with you. So let's begin with a positive having moved here to Bulgaria, and that is the people. I really can't say how grateful I am to all the amazing Bulgarians who have been so welcoming to me, both, friends that I knew before this, new friends that I have made having moved here, and also, very important, so many of you who I greatly appreciate, who have reached out to me through this YouTube channel, whether it is by email or DMs. Like, I have gotten so many very kind and welcoming messages from Bulgarians. And to be fair, I don't know if that would happen if, let's say, I had moved to, Sweden or Germany or something like that, and, still had this YouTube channel. I don't know if maybe those nationalities would reach out to me that much, but I can say that here in Bulgaria, like, my goodness, many people are incredibly welcoming, incredibly kind, and I'm just very grateful that in the half year that I've been here so far, I have already made so many great friends and feel like I have a great social circle here in Sofia. When you're moving to a new place, that's sometimes the hardest part, is feeling lonely in this place you've moved to. But in my case, I definitely have had a full social circle kind of from the get-go, which has been a very big blessing. And now my first negative of having moved to Bulgaria, I think comes as no surprise, which is the bureaucracy. Now, everybody warned me that this was going to be a problem. It's a problem in many places, but it's really made me appreciate just how much more streamlined and easy to do and timely things are in Canada. Now, I know some people will have a totally opposite experience to me. Some people, I don't know, you let me know in the comments, might say that their immigration process to Canada, was a whole mess. It took so long. Maybe they call it bureaucratic. I don't know. But I technically had to go through permanent residency and citizenship in Canada, having immigrated from Ukraine. And sure, it did take a while, but it was relatively clear what you had to do, when you had to do it, all the guidelines. And what's also great is that a lot of the government forums and things that you had to do, especially in more recent years, even though I've been, a citizen, it can all be found online. That's the one thing that I have noticed here is not only is it extremely confusing, all of the things that you have to do, one thing will say this, one will say that, one person you talk to says this, another one says that. And I just don't understand how more things aren't kind of taken online nowadays. You would think that you could create a more stable online system to file all of these things, but they still seem to like to do it the old-fashioned way. But the saving grace that I will now give Bulgaria is maybe this is a European thing. Having talked to friends that have moved to France, to Spain, to Portugal, some of those countries I've heard are, from the sounds of it, even worse, to try and get all of your residency figured out and just constantly changing rules and people who are unhelpful at the offices. Maybe Bulgaria is actually not that bad. So it makes me appreciate, that of my former home. Whereas here in Bulgaria, outside of, a few easy processes, other than that, it has been very, very challenging. All right, back to the positives. Another big positive that I have found of having moved here to Sofia specifically is that I do feel very safe. And that is an amazing feeling, especially as a woman by herself in, a capital city, even though it isn't millions upon millions of people. Sofia is still a fairly big city, and I am just surprised how at ease I feel here day in and day out. Sure, there are some places in the city that you probably wouldn't want to go to late at night by yourself, more usually in the outskirts of the city. But here in the center where I live, I have been out very late at night and never have felt oh my God, I'm worried somebody's, following me, or somebody is being weird, or I feel like something is going to happen, or somebody is going to grab my phone or my purse. Never has that been the case. And for that, I feel extremely grateful. The crime rates here are relatively very low, especially for more, serious things. And also just seeing so many other women walking out late at night by themselves is a very good sign that a place is safe. And back to the negative, one thing that I certainly miss so much about Canada is the variety of products and services that I just haven't found here in Bulgaria. Now, I know I'm kind of comparing, apples to oranges with this one, because obviously Canada is a much bigger country. It has different trade agreements. I think as Canadians, we really take for granted, especially if you live in a big city, especially if you live in Toronto or Vancouver, the variety of how many different products from all around the world you can easily access through so many different stores, have it shipped straight to your door, Amazon one-day shipping, plus there are just certain kinds of, conveniences and services that I just don't think exist here. A very important one of which that I greatly miss is actually the sponsor of today's video, which is HelloFresh. Now, you guys may remember that I was obsessed with HelloFresh when I was in Canada. It just made, planning my meals and getting the ingredients delivered straight to my door so very easy. Starting at just $5 a serving, you can have affordable meal kits delivered straight to your door, so you don't have to do all of the extra planning of what you're going to make and all of that extra time spent at the grocery store. One of my favorite HelloFresh meals that I loved making was their roasted pork tenderloin with shallot gravy because it was super delicious and easy to make. HelloFresh sources their ingredients locally whenever possible, and all of their boxes are packed fresh here in Canada. And with their flexible subscription plan, you can pause or cancel at any time. Right now, they are having a very special promotion where you can get 50% off your first box, plus free sides for life, plus your first box ships free by using my code Alina at hellofresh.ca. This offer is for new and returning subscribers who have been canceled for more than 270 days. You can sign up today by using the link down below or use my code Alina at hellofresh.ca. And back to the positive, I do really have to give a shout out to this amazing apartment. I can't tell you guys how much I have enjoyed living here. Like, there really are no words for it. Like, not only do I have a lot of room, everything is just so aesthetically pleasing. They did do just such a beautiful renovation on everything. The location is obviously fantastic. Like, I am right downtown. I have every convenience I could want, you know, within walking distance, public transit, super close. But almost most important is that it is so extremely quiet. I'm really grateful that how my apartment is, it's like not facing a really busy street, and the neighbors that I have are just amazing. Like, I've actually gotten to know the ladies just across the way. We've had each other over for tea and biscuits. It's been really, really nice. And also the landlord and kind of management company that they have here for the apartments is really fantastic. Anytime I need something, even just the other day, I couldn't figure out how to turn on the boiler. I felt so dumb because the handyman had like shown me how to do this, but I forgot, and I didn't want to like press things and like mess something up. So I just sent them a quick message and was like, hey, anytime you have a minute, if you could have the handyman even just like text me what to do, I would appreciate it. And he ended up coming over like within 10 minutes. He was over here, did everything for me, you know, no extra charge to me. You know, that's just so lovely when you can have a great landlord, when you have fantastic neighbors. And yeah, the apartment is just really, really beautiful. So I'm extremely grateful to be living here. And this is honestly like the best place that I have ever lived. And on the negative side, one thing that I guess just comes along with moving abroad, this isn't just a Bulgaria thing, and that is instability. Like, yes, I have my residency permit now. I am allowed to be in the country until, you know, early next year. And while yes, it should be fine for me to renew and keep doing that until I could potentially get permanent residency after having been here for 5 years, but it isn't guaranteed. And that's the part of moving abroad that I feel a lot of people don't really touch on, that in the period leading up to permanent residency, unless, you know, you got a golden visa that automatically gave you permanent residency, or let's say you got citizenship by descent or something like that. In most other cases, you have this sort of in-between period where you're not technically guaranteed a future in this country. So that's been kind of the one thing that I knew coming here to Bulgaria would be more challenging than, let's say, Albania or Georgia, maybe even Serbia. You know, if I had moved to non-EU countries, maybe it would be a little bit less stressful because generally their immigration isn't as difficult. So of course that really makes me appreciate Canada, where obviously I do have citizenship now, and you know, unless I do an act of terror, I don't think they can kick me out. So it is obviously nice to know that with a citizenship you can come back and live there and you're not going to get kicked out of the country. Also, actually, on that note, I don't think I've mentioned this in any of my prior videos, but just recently, like just in this past month, it was finally announced that Ukraine is going to allow dual citizenship. This is something that I have been waiting for a very long time, as I'm sure many Ukrainians have. What this will basically mean is Ukraine will recognize having different citizenships. Because don't get me wrong, plenty of people have had 2, 3, 4 passports as well as their Ukrainian passport, but the difference is that when you go into Ukraine, they will only recognize your Ukrainian passport, which depending on certain kinds of circumstances could put you in some very bad positions. I know that I could technically just go get my old passport probably renewed and, just have that passport at any point in time, but I would rather wait until it is official that both dual citizenships will be recognized, and that is supposed to be starting at kind of the end of this year to early next year. So that is very exciting because obviously when the war hopefully is over in Ukraine, that could obviously be a place that I could potentially live and know that I have citizenship in. And now a positive of how my life has improved having moved to Bulgaria, and that is my health. This has actually been a huge change for me, especially when I was traveling full time, and because I was moving so fast in a lot of cases, I ate out literally almost every single meal of my life. It is just too difficult when you are like changing locations every week or every few days to go grocery shop, make meals for the short amount of time that you are there. And because of the prices, a lot of times, honestly, it's cheaper for me to eat out. And I have been making now the opposite, where at least probably 80 to 90% of my meals I have made at home with super fresh and fantastic ingredients. So I have been eating so much better here in Bulgaria. I have my regular workout routine. I also walk so much more, and just generally my stress level is also a lot lower. So that certainly helps. And one other thing that I think is greatly underrated, maybe even a little bit controversial, but obviously it's great that here they have both universal health care, if you are a resident, which actually I don't have that. But, in my case, I have either my emergency medical insurance or I just pay out of pocket for any kind of private healthcare that I want. So for example, I had a weird skin thing happen when I first moved here, and I found an amazing dermatologist that I was able to go see on the same day. She helped me solve my problem after a couple of appointments, and each appointment cost the equivalent of $30 US. I have friends that have been on a 6-month to a year waiting list in Canada to just see a dermatologist. Obviously, I still believe that healthcare should be universal, that everybody should have access to it, but there are obviously certain benefits that you can have a system that kind of utilizes both, where if you absolutely, need to go see someone and you're willing to pay a reasonable price for it, that you can go do that. And now my last negative, though I guess it's not obviously a negative, but it's a challenge. Let me put it that way. And I mean, it's obvious, which is the language barrier. Obviously, when you are moving abroad to a country that has a different language than the one you speak, obviously that will be a challenge. Some places more than others. And that's why I chose, specifically Sofia, because I knew that I can get by. I can get by with just English, especially when I first moved there. And because I work for myself, it's not like an absolute priority that I need to learn Bulgarian right away. But the longer you stay somewhere, I think it's basically necessary that you start learning the local language. So that's actually what I have started doing this past month, because when I first got here, I'll be honest, I was just so overwhelmed and I had so many things that I had to do, right? Getting my immigration stuff, setting up my company, figuring out that whole AdSense situation, bank accounts, and just so many very important practical things that really affect my day-to-day life. But now that things have calmed down and are a bit more stable, I have a bit more free time. Now I have started proper Bulgarian classes 2 times a week with a private teacher over Zoom, just because that is more convenient for me, like to take the time to go in person somewhere. And I just personally prefer to, you know, have a one-on-one kind of thing from the convenience of my home. I have signed up with a really fantastic school here. It's called Christina Progress. They have both group and private classes, whatever is more convenient for you. And so far it has been a really fantastic experience. I feel like in just a few classes, I have already learned so much.
So how would you read this one at the top?
Hummus с арабский хляб 400 грамма.
Super.
50 лева. 50 лева. So I will keep you guys updated with how that goes. And last, but certainly not least, the last positive that I will say about moving to Bulgaria has been the location. I always knew that at some point in my life, I wanted to live in Europe again. In my opinion, this is just the most convenient part of the world to be located in, not only because you have so many cool neighbors, like you can just hop on a plane and be in another country and like, well, multiple countries in an hour or 2, and it's just so beautiful and diverse, and the public transit, you know, generally is so great. As a travel YouTuber, it really is the best place to be based in. Also, specific to Bulgaria, I will say that the weather is fantastic. This is exactly what I was looking for, where it still has the 4 seasons, but I don't want them to be as intense as what we have in Canada. Also very important is that Bulgaria in general doesn't really have any natural disasters. Sure, this year there were some wildfires and I think a little bit of flooding in certain places, but generally speaking, like, it's a pretty safe place to live in. And also, this can't be underestimated, just in the political scheme of things. Like, at the end of the day, Bulgaria is a country of only 5-6 million people. You know, they're in the EU, they're in NATO, and even though they have some tiffs with, you know, some of their neighbors, it's generally not that serious, and, you know, they don't really get involved in the world events on that scale. So in a way, you know, if I had to summarize what my experience has been like so far living in Bulgaria, I would say that it is peaceful. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I would really love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever moved abroad? What was your experience? Once again, a very big thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. I'm gonna have that special promotion link in the description, or you can use my code Alina at hellofresh.ca. And as always, I am sending you guys so much love. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Keep being your own kind of beautiful. Bye, guys.